Welcome, my friends. Have you ever wondered what your life would be like if electricity suddenly disappeared? No phones. No internet. No television. No computers. No lights in your house. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? Today, I am very excited because we are going to discover the incredible story of Nikola Tesla, a man who helped create the modern world we live in today. While listening to this story, you can improve your English and learn new vocabulary in a fun and natural way. If you enjoy videos like this, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more stories. Now, let's go with the story. Let us travel back to Europe in the year 1856. The world looked completely different. There were no airplanes. There were no smartphones. There was no internet. Most cities became dark at night because electricity was not part of everyday life. People could not imagine a future where entire cities would be full of light. But one man would change that forever. On July 10, 1856, during a powerful thunderstorm, a baby boy was born in a small village called Smiljan. At that time, it was part of the Austrian Empire. Today, this place is located in Croatia. There is a famous story about the night he was born. Lightning filled the sky. One person said that the baby would become a child of darkness. But his mother answered with confidence. No. He will be a child of light. Years later, her words would become true. That baby was Nikola Tesla. Nikola grew up in a loving family. His father, Milutin Tesla, was a priest and a very educated man. His mother, Georgina, never attended school, but she was extremely intelligent and creative. She invented small tools and objects to help her with daily tasks at home. Nikola admired her very much. Many years later, he would say that much of his creativity came from her. As a child, Nikola was very different from other children. He was extremely curious. He always asked questions. Why do birds fly? How does water move? Why does light exist? His mind was always active. He also had an incredible memory. Sometimes, he could remember entire pages after reading them only once. His teachers quickly realized that he was not an ordinary student. He learned very fast. Sometimes, he solved difficult mathematical problems before the teacher had even finished explaining them. At first, everyone was impressed. But sometimes, people did not understand him. Some teachers even thought he was cheating because his answers were so fast. But Nikola was simply gifted. He had a very unusual way of thinking. He could imagine entire machines inside his head. Most inventors needed paper and drawings. Nikola could build inventions in his imagination before creating them in real life. He could see every piece moving perfectly. It was an extraordinary talent. However, his childhood was not always happy. When Nikola was 7 years old, something very sad happened. His older brother, Dane, died in an accident. Nikola loved his brother very much. His family was devastated. For many years, this loss affected him deeply. Some historians believe this tragedy pushed him even closer to books, science, and imagination. As he grew older, he became fascinated by mathematics and physics. But one subject captured his attention more than anything else. Electricity. Electricity felt magical. At that time, nobody fully understood how powerful it could become. But Nikola believed that one day electricity would reach every home in the world. Many people would have laughed at that idea. But Nikola Tesla never liked the word impossible. As a teenager, he attended high school and amazed everyone around him. He studied mathematics, physics, and several languages. Sometimes, he worked so hard that his teachers worried about his health. But Nikola had a dream. He wanted to create inventions that could help millions of people. He wanted to build the future. And very soon, his journey would take him far away from home. Very soon, he would travel to America. And there, he would meet one of the most famous inventors in the world. A man named Thomas Edison. Their meeting would become one of the greatest rivalries in the history of science. As Nikola grew older, his passion for science became even stronger. He was especially interested in mathematics, physics, and engineering. His teachers were amazed by his abilities. Sometimes, he could solve very difficult problems entirely in his head. He rarely needed paper. He could visualize everything in his mind. This was one of his most extraordinary talents. After finishing high school, Nikola attended the Austrian Polytechnic School in Graz, Austria. He was determined to become an engineer. At first, he was an excellent student. He studied for many hours every day. Sometimes, he worked from early morning until late at night. His professors admired his dedication. One teacher even said that Nikola was one of the most brilliant students he had ever met. But Nikola had a problem. He pushed himself too hard. He barely slept. He spent almost all his time studying. Eventually, the pressure started to affect him. His health became worse. He was exhausted. At one point, he even stopped attending classes regularly. Life was becoming difficult. Later, he moved to another city called Prague to continue his education. Although he did not complete a university degree there, he never stopped learning. Nikola was the kind of person who learned everywhere he went. Books became his best friends. He read about science, literature, and different languages. He wanted to understand everything around him. As a young adult, he began working as an electrical engineer. His first important jobs were in Europe. He worked in Budapest, Hungary, and later in Paris, France. During this period, he gained valuable experience. Every day, he repaired electrical equipment and improved existing systems. But his mind was always thinking about something bigger. He wanted to create new inventions. One day, while walking in a park in Budapest with a friend, Nikola had an extraordinary idea. Suddenly, he imagined a completely different way to use electricity. He realized that electricity could travel in a more efficient way. At that moment, he started developing one of the most important ideas of his life. Alternating current. Also known as AC. At that time, most electrical systems were using direct current, or DC. But Nikola believed AC could change everything. He was excited. He knew he had discovered something extraordinary. But there was one problem. He needed someone who would believe in his idea. And he knew exactly where he needed to go. America. At that time, the United States was becoming a place of innovation and opportunity. Many inventors were working there. Many new businesses were growing. Nikola believed America would give him the opportunity he needed. So, in 1884, at the age of 28, he made one of the biggest decisions of his life. He left Europe behind. He boarded a ship and traveled across the Atlantic Ocean. The journey was long and uncertain. He did not have much money. He did not know what his future would look like. But he carried something much more valuable. His ideas. When Nikola finally arrived in New York City, everything felt enormous. The buildings were taller. The streets were louder. The city was full of energy. It was unlike anything he had ever seen before. He arrived with only a few personal belongings. And he carried a letter of recommendation for one very important person. Thomas Edison. One of the most famous inventors in America. Nikola hoped this meeting would change his life. He had no idea that this man would soon become his greatest rival. Their different ideas about electricity would create one of the most famous scientific competitions in history. A competition that would decide how electricity would power the entire world. And Nikola Tesla was ready for the challenge. When Nikola Tesla arrived in New York in 1884, he was both excited and nervous. Everything around him was new. The city was loud, crowded, and full of opportunities. People walked quickly through the streets. Horse carriages moved everywhere. Large buildings stood in every direction. For Nikola, it felt like a place where anything could happen. He carried very little with him. Just a few belongings, some notes, and a letter of recommendation for Thomas Edison. At that time, Edison was already one of the most famous inventors in America. People admired him. Many even called him a genius. Nikola hoped they could work together and change the future. Soon, he got the opportunity. He started working for Edison. Nikola worked extremely hard. Sometimes he spent many hours fixing electrical machines and solving difficult problems. Edison quickly realized that Nikola was an exceptional engineer. He was intelligent, creative, and very efficient. But there was one big problem. The two men had completely different ideas. Edison believed that direct current, also known as DC, was the best way to distribute electricity. Nikola disagreed. He believed that alternating current, or AC, was much better. AC could travel much farther distances. It was more efficient. And it could eventually power entire cities. At first, their disagreements were small. But little by little, they became bigger. There is a famous story that Edison promised Nikola $50,000 if he could improve some of his machines. Nikola worked for months and completed the project successfully. But when he asked for the money, Edison reportedly told him that it was only a joke. Nikola felt disappointed. $50,000 was an enormous amount of money at that time. He felt that his work was not being respected. Not long after that, he resigned. For a while, life became very difficult. He struggled to find work. He had almost no money. At one point, he even worked digging ditches to survive. Imagine that. One of the greatest inventors in history was digging holes in the ground just to earn enough money to eat. Many people would have given up. Many people would have returned home. But Nikola was not like most people. He still believed in his ideas. He still believed he could change the world. Eventually, some investors became interested in his work. They helped him open his own laboratory. For the first time, Nikola could freely work on his inventions. He was excited. He spent countless hours developing his alternating current system. And soon, people began to notice. One businessman, George Westinghouse, was especially impressed. Westinghouse immediately understood that Nikola's ideas could transform the future. He decided to support him. Together, they started building electrical systems based on alternating current. However, Thomas Edison was not happy. He wanted his own system to remain the standard. This started a famous rivalry that became known as the War of the Currents. It was not an actual war with soldiers. It was a battle of ideas. Both inventors wanted to prove that their system was better. Newspapers wrote articles about them. People debated which system was safer. Some demonstrations were organized to influence public opinion. Edison even tried to show that alternating current was dangerous. He publicly demonstrated how powerful electricity could be. Many people became afraid. But Nikola remained calm. He trusted science. He trusted his inventions. He knew that, sooner or later, the results would speak for themselves. And they did. One of the biggest opportunities arrived when Tesla and Westinghouse won an important contract. They would help provide electricity for the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago. This was one of the biggest events in the world. Millions of visitors attended. People came from different countries to see new inventions and technologies. When the lights turned on, everyone was amazed. Thousands of electric lights illuminated the fair. People could hardly believe what they were seeing. It felt magical. For many visitors, it was the first time they had ever seen such a large display of electricity. The event was a huge success. Suddenly, people started trusting alternating current. Nikola Tesla had proven that his system worked. But he was not finished yet. His greatest achievement was still waiting for him. Very soon, he would help harness the power of one of the most famous waterfalls on Earth. A project that would finally prove to the entire world that his dream was possible. And after that moment, the world would never be the same again. After the success of the Chicago World's Fair, Nikola Tesla became famous. People finally started to understand how powerful his inventions were. His system of alternating current was proving that electricity could travel long distances and power entire cities. But Tesla was not finished yet. His biggest project was still waiting for him. Soon, he was given an extraordinary opportunity. He would help use the power of Niagara Falls, one of the most famous waterfalls in the world. At that time, many people thought it was impossible. The waterfall was powerful, but nobody knew how to transform that energy into electricity for millions of people. Nikola believed he could do it. Together with George Westinghouse and a team of engineers, they built a huge hydroelectric power station. And in 1895, they succeeded. Electricity from Niagara Falls traveled many kilometers and reached the city of Buffalo, New York. It was an incredible moment. People were amazed. Nikola Tesla had proven that his ideas worked. His dream was becoming reality. Soon, alternating current spread all over the world. Even today, much of the electricity we use comes from the same system he helped create. The lights in our homes. The buildings in our cities. Many of the devices we use every day. They all exist because of ideas that Nikola Tesla developed more than 100 years ago. But Tesla never stopped dreaming. He was always thinking about the future. He wanted to invent wireless communication. He wanted to send electricity without wires. He imagined a world where people could communicate instantly from different countries. At that time, many people thought these ideas were impossible. But today, some of them sound very familiar. In many ways, Tesla imagined parts of the modern world long before they existed. He created many inventions during his life. In fact, he registered more than 300 patents in different countries. His ideas influenced radios, motors, remote controls, and many other technologies. However, despite his brilliance, Tesla faced many difficulties. He was not interested in becoming rich. He cared more about his inventions than about money. Sometimes, he invested everything he had in new projects. Sometimes, his ideas were too advanced for his time. Investors stopped supporting him. Little by little, he lost financial stability. As he grew older, Tesla lived a quiet and lonely life. He moved from hotel to hotel in New York City. He spent much of his time reading, thinking, and feeding pigeons in the park. He especially loved one white pigeon that visited him every day. Some people found his habits unusual. But Tesla had always been different. His mind never stopped working. Even in his later years, he continued imagining new inventions. On January 7, 1943, Nikola Tesla died at the age of 86 in a hotel room in New York. At that moment, many people did not fully understand how important he had been. But over time, the world began to recognize his extraordinary contributions. Today, Nikola Tesla is considered one of the greatest inventors in history. Scientists admire him. Engineers study his work. Students around the world learn about his ideas. His name even inspired the name of a modern electric car company. But perhaps his greatest achievement was something much bigger. He helped shape the future. Nikola Tesla once said, "The present is theirs, the future, for which I really worked, is mine." And he was right. More than 100 years later, his inventions are still helping billions of people every single day. So, my friends, this is the story of Nikola Tesla. A curious boy from a small village who grew up asking questions. A young man who never stopped learning. An inventor who crossed an ocean to chase his dreams. And a visionary who changed the world forever. His life reminds us that great ideas can come from anyone, anywhere. Sometimes, the people who seem different are the ones who transform the future. And sometimes, believing in your own ideas can change the lives of millions of people. I hope this story inspired you and, at the same time, helped you improve your English. Thank you for listening, my friends. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and never stop being curious. See you in the next story.